What's up, Willowbrook? Today we're in 1 Samuel chapter 18. And in this chapter today, we see the relationship between Saul and David go from pretty good to not so good, right? We read about Saul becoming jealous of David, and he feels threatened by David. He becomes afraid of David. And because of that, he tries to kill David multiple ways. So by the end of this chapter, we see this relationship that once appeared good to be not so great. As I was reading this, a question came to mind, and I want you to ask yourself, which character between Saul and David do you resonate with most today? Which person do you feel like today? Do you feel like Saul, where maybe there's someone in your life that you feel threatened by, or maybe you're jealous of that person, or maybe whatever it may be, you don't want to kill them, but you want them out of your life. Does that feel like you? Or maybe on the other end of that spectrum, do you feel like David, where maybe you're trying to do all the right things, you're trying to honor certain people, and for whatever reason, they just want to get rid of you, and they're fearful of you, and they're threatened by you? Well, whether you feel like Saul or you feel like David, I believe Jesus gives us the perfect way to respond. And that way is in Matthew 5, verse 44. Jesus says three words that are powerful yet difficult. He says, love your enemies. I'll say that again. He says, love your enemies. Those three words. I believe that's the proper way to respond, whether you feel like Saul or whether you feel like David. See, in this chapter today, if you read, it's pretty evident that Saul views David as an enemy. He wants to get rid of him. He wants to kill him. He's threatened by him. And it doesn't say it explicitly, but I would imagine that David, by the end of the chapter, has begun to view Saul as an enemy as well. So whether or not you feel like Saul or David, the way we respond, according to Scripture and according to the ways of Jesus, is to love your enemies. Now, here's the thing. Things are different today for you than they were for Saul or David. And especially if you feel like Saul today, things are much different because you have something that Saul didn't have according to our chapter today. It says in our chapter that the Lord had departed Saul. But today, if you're a Christian, if you're a believer, if you follow Christ, the Lord is with you. You're not alone. God is with you. So now this call to respond by loving your enemies that otherwise would have been impossible for you to do in your own strength is made possible because of God's Spirit that lives within you. So whether you feel like Saul or whether you feel like David or anything in between, the response is the same. Because God lives within us. He's given us the power to love the people that we consider our enemies. God is with you. Love your enemies. God bless you. We'll see you next time.